issues, education, religion, government, or national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And welcome to the broadcast on this Friday night, October 10th, 2025. Well, folks, we have very big problems. I didn't see this coming, did you? And that is allowing Qatar to send their pilots over here to be trained on a base in Idaho. We're going to be joined with this breaking news today. We'll be joined by Hedieh Mirahmadi and also Anni Cyrus. Here is the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, as he signed a deal with his Qatari counterpart today. And this is blowing up on social media. Many people. Laura Loomer, one of the biggest supporters of President Trump. She's ridden on Air Force One. She's been in the Oval Office. I think she got some people fired. I mean, she has been a real trooper and a promoter of President Trump and MAGA. And tonight, she is extremely upset. We'll show you some of the things she's saying. And of course, this has serious implications for us as a country. We're going to get to that tonight. We're also going to cover this story. This is over at the National Pulse. Ding dong, Dominion's dead. U.S.-owned Liberty Vote acquires Dominion voting systems in historic deal. Are you as confused about this as I am? What does all this mean? What about the lawsuits? What about Mike Lindell and, the other cases? We'll get into that tonight with Garland Favorito of Voter GA. And then we have a couple that's running, Carla and Jonathan. He's the Speaker of the House in South Dakota. She's been on our show before, talking about the CO2 carbon pipeline. They're running together as a ticket for governor and lieutenant governor in South Dakota. I want to talk to them about state rights, if they would be willing to work on legislation to outlaw programmable money in the state of South Dakota and more. So we'll talk with that couple tonight as well. Rick Anson will be with us, the developer of the GLP-1, the Bella Melt that Melissa's been taking, along with others with incredible success. We're going to have all those folks on the broadcast tonight, but we're going to spend quite a bit of time here at the beginning with Hedieh and with Annie, because many people in MAGA world tonight are extremely upset over allowing for the Qatari government, this group that has funded Islam at so many levels, to come over here to the U.S. and set up shop to train their pilots on a base in Idaho. But before we get to all that, remember, we are brought to you by you. Please go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors and be sure to check out all of our sponsors, the water purifiers, the Swish for Life, that's a glutathione, the Bella Grace, the Gatatana. It's all there. It's so important, so much of this for your health. Worldview Talk, that's your satellite phones, that's your solar generators and more, your bulletproof backpacks, the Worldview Healthcare, that's your emergency medical kits that has your antibiotics to keep on your shelf, so that you are never caught, like I was last year with pneumonia, but would not be able to get an antibiotic due to some kind of just-in-time inventory crisis or the power grid being down or some kind of disruption in the country. I didn't even have to go to the local urgent care, even though I had a temperature of 103, because I was able to get on the antibiotic I needed from my healthcare, my wellness company kit from worldviewhealthcare.com. Keep these things on hand, folks. Check it all out, all the sponsors at worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. But please tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, whatever it is you can do, let all of your family and friends know they need to get over here right now, because we have this huge breaking news story related to Qatar and them getting a base in Idaho. We're going to cover it tonight with two experts. But again, first, go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Help us stay on the air. All right, guys, I hate to do this, but I think we have to stop and have a moment of taps. You don't have to show anything, Logan. Just let it echo through the room. I think we have to have a moment of taps here to mourn the death of MAGA. Yep. MAGA is officially dead. And it has been replaced with Make Islam Great Again. Instead of Make America Great Again, it's Make Islam Great Again. Make Islam able to infiltrate America. That's a long acronym. Will that fit on a hat? What am I talking about today? For me, it's the straw that finally broke the camel's back. We're here to tell the truth. And if you can't handle the truth, then this program's probably not for you. Because I'm not paid by the White House. I'm not paid by any group. I am a listener-supported network for one reason, to put out the truth. And we have tolerated Bill Gates being dragged into the White House, along with Mark Zuckerberg, and praised. And we've tolerated Peter Thiel and Palantir and all these guys getting money, getting set up in the government. We've had a $70 billion deal, I guess, with Pfizer that's been announced in the White House Oval Office the other day. We've had the president of Turkey, Erdogan, called a good man, a strong man. We've had the butcher of Syria put on a suit and be called a good-looking guy and be brought to the White House with honors, even though he's butchering Christians, according to numerous reports all over the Middle East. I mean, it just keeps going on. And if Biden were doing any of this, people would be screaming and hollering. But, you know, this whole Trump derangement syndrome cuts both ways. Those who say things about him that aren't true and just make up crazy things, and then those who refuse to believe anything about him that is true. And apparently we have a problem with Qatar, who today they're getting access to the air base in Idaho to practice for their military. Qatar, who sends $40 billion into our universities to brainwash American students into Islam, which is anti-woman. You can rape women. You can have multiple wives. Kill the Jew, kill the Christian, kill the people of the book. That's Qatar. We had a listener from Michigan call in today who was stationed in Iraq with the U.S. military. She said, don't trust these people. Do not trust these people. President Trump at one time did not trust these people. I'll play that clip for you. But look at what came out today. And boy, a lot of people are saying, we have finally seen the light. This was the final straw for a lot of them. MAGA's dead. Does that mean we're not going to get some things we like? Oh, yeah, we'll get thrown some bones. They'll throw us some bones. And people will gobble up those bones and think we're winning. America's so back. These are people lacking understanding, reason, logic, context, discernment, the big picture. And of course, most of them don't get it. Most of them have no intellectual curiosity. Most of them haven't cracked a book and read a book in years. Most people that you know, listening friends, you have family and friends that you've tried to get to watch this program. They refuse to do it. They even tell you, I don't want to know these things. So the average American thinks things must be somewhat good. Well, are they? I don't think they are for a lot of people financially with inflation. And there's a reason gold's popped up to over 4,000. Silver has hit the all-time high again of $50. But this is what happened today that's really got a lot of people finally saying, I think we've been deceived. It's like Catherine Austin Fitch said yesterday. Yeah, they put President Trump in because he knew he could go far further than Kamala. Well, apparently that's true. And then you got the Trump family. There's serious concerns about them with their golf courses and resorts in Qatar and the Saudi and Qatari money tied back to their son-in-law, Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Hard to believe he's got a building, 666. That's the address on the building. I looked it up. And Qatar, what was it, like $1.8 billion, according to numerous articles related to that. Look at this headline, Newsweek. Jared Kushner says $1.5 billion from Qatar. United Arab Emirates came irrespective of Trump win. Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, yeah. If that had been Biden's son, what would people be saying? Houston, we got a problem. So what am I referring to before we go to Anni Cyrus and Hedieh? I'm referring to this little clip that came out today with Pete Hegseth and his counterpart with the Qatari government.
We also value the close cooperation between Doha and Washington that led to the signing of the Gaza peace plan on October 8th. This historic achievement underscores what can be accomplished when our nations work together with courage and trust, amongst other partners such as Egypt and Turkey.
Yeah, trust these people. We can trust each other. Qatar, who funds Hamas to kill Christians, to kill Jews. We can trust Turkey. Really? We all know about Erdogan, those of us that have studied it, and most of you have. These are your partners of trust? These are your friends?
We further welcome today's signing of the letter of acceptance establishing a Qatari Emir Air Force facility and Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho.
Now, you heard that right, folks. You heard that right. Mm-hmm. An air base in Idaho. An air base in Idaho to train Qataris, Muslim. Oh, yeah, because Muslims would never fly airplanes into a building now, would they?
This step strengthens interoperabilities, enhance joint readiness, and advance our shared defense goals.
Oh, yeah, we have shared defense goals, do we?
Mr. Secretary, together we will continue to deepen this strategic partnership in pursuit of lasting peace and shared security. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. We wish you that.
Sign now.
Sign and trade. How about that?
Yeah.
Sign and trade. I thought Pete Hegseth would resign before he did some of this dumb. I know, that's exactly right, Logan. Yeah. I said this to Annie today, and Logan just said it in my ear. I guess we think a lot alike, don't we, Logan? Logan said, I thought Israel ran America. That's exactly what I said to Annie today. I said, so much for Israel running America. I'm sure Israel's really excited about this. It seems to me Islam, Qatar, is running America. All of these stupid people out there on the internet, out there on social media, talking about Israel money. Look, folks, if Israel had Qatar's money, they'd burn theirs. Give me Saudi Arabia, the Muslims, the Arab states. Hedieh was at our banquet a week ago last night speaking. And for those of you that are Vault members, you can go watch it at worldviewtube.com/vault. She talked about all the countries that she was sent to. So many countries she was sent to set up moderate networks, moderate Muslim networks to gain information, but also to try to win hearts and minds. Remember that? Winning hearts and minds. Oh. There weren't enough moderates to be able to do it, apparently. And the money that was so strong by the radicals was overwhelming. They couldn't get a network going in any of these places. And she described the people in Washington that either took the Gulf money, the Arab money, Islamic money, and then those who didn't. And you had these battles going on inside Washington in think tanks and among well-known personalities. And the difference was those who understood Islam and didn't take their money, and those who either did or didn't understand but didn't care and took the money. And their influence is so great. And apparently the money is flowing to the tune of billions and billions and billions, and we are for sale. MAGA is dead. Officially tonight. Write it down. Does that mean we won't get some things we like? We'll, but overall, when all is said and done, we will look back and say this was a destructive 4 years to the Republic. From AI to the growth of Islam, the cancer in America that's not being talked about. We'll distract you with panels at the White House talking about Antifa. We'll distract you with Pam Bondi walking out talking about prosecuting people that threaten people that are from Antifa. But how about the Islamists that have threatened my family and my speakers? How about the Islamists and their friends on the Marxist side that put terrorist threats against my buildings in 2018? And those were canceled because they pulled our contracts. We have the screenshots from many of those Islamists. They won't touch it because money covers a multitude of sins. Where is the end of the IRS? Remember all the talk? We'll probably just end federal income tax. We'll probably just end that. We'll make it all up with tariffs. You've been baited and promised and baited and promised. And you get one step forward, and they take 3 steps back. And Islam is taking over this country. And what has happened to Donald Trump? Because this was Donald Trump back in 2017. Here's what Donald Trump said in 2017.
The nation of Qatar.
Let me start it over and boost it loud. Here we go.
The nation of Qatar, unfortunately, has historically been a funder of terrorism at a very high level. And in the wake of that conference, nations came together and spoke to me about confronting Qatar over its behavior. So we had a decision to make. Do we take the easy road, or do we finally take a hard but necessary action? We have to stop the funding of terrorism. I decided, along with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, our great generals and military people, the time had come to call on Qatar to end its funding. They have to end that funding.
Can you imagine the things that this government has done and how they have been rewarded? How they have been rewarded. And this peace deal is not going to work. This peace deal is not going to last. I shared this today on radio. It's at worldviewreport.com. Trump's peace plan for Gaza will fail miserably. Much of the West still clings to the fantasy that Islamists can be coaxed into moderation, but Islamists only see such gestures as weakness to be exploited. Joining me now is Hedieh and Anni. Guys, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us, Brannon.
Yes, such a pleasure.
Such a pleasure. Thank you. It's not a pleasure to report on this, though, is it, Hedieh?
Yes, it is.
It is a pleasure? It is a pleasure to report on this?
I'm a humble person, but I've been telling all of your, even though I'm the Middle Eastern, but apparently your camels had very strong backs. Mine broke 4 months ago. So yes, it is a pleasure to sit here and say, so how's it going, Maga?
Yeah. Well, you have been out on the leading front of this saying we're being duped, this is not going right. So there is something when people see things like this, you go, oh, welcome, glad you're awake, glad you're paying attention. Because people, we have another over 3 years of this administration. If they've done this much destruction to the country with these kind of deals and relationships, Hedieh, where are we going? What do you make of all this?
So I think, as I mentioned in your conference, I hope people go back and get a chance to hear that in the vault. We're in the second phase of the Islamic conquest of Christendom. And if people do not understand history, we're just doomed to repeat it. And the great scholar Raymond Ibrahim says, when people ask him about current events, he's like, I don't bother to follow any of it. It's just rinse and repeat. And he's actually exactly correct, because... And
by the way, is he supposed to be on my broadcast next week, Logan? He's supposed to be with my broadcast next week, guys.
Oh, great. I actually emailed him twice. I was like, will you please go on the show?
Oh, you did? You're helping me get him? Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And your audience will really enjoy it because it's so important to understand where we are in this battle. And I know you made a very important point about MAGA being dead, but this didn't start with MAGA. This started back with the Bushes. It's happened in every administration. You laid out how I described it. I went to 37 countries trying to build moderate networks, but we were inundated with Gulf money, and Americans taking Gulf money, and Indonesians taking Gulf money, and England taking Gulf money. So this is a problem way past Trump. The only problem in the Trump era is that he's so pragmatic and doesn't understand the ideological underpinnings of what happened. It's on like steroids right now. And it's super disappointing to see that the America First doctrine didn't bleed over into that means we're going to stop the Islamist conquest of America. And that's really a travesty.
Annie?
Let me ask you and Hedieh if this name rings a bell for either one of you. Second Lieutenant Mohammed Saeed al-Sharami.
Not for me.
No.
On December 6th, 2019, this is during President Trump's first term. On December 6th, 2019, Second Lieutenant al-Sharami walked into the Naval Air Base of Florida using his Glock 48. He killed 3 and wounded 8 U.S. servicemen. Who was he? He was the Royal Saudi Arabia Forces here in America doing training at the Florida base.
Great point.
It didn't get much attention because he wasn't supposed to. Why am I bringing this? The moment I heard this news, I said, so Trump doesn't learn from his mistakes? He kept calling Saudi Arabia an ally, though the second lieutenant watched an Al-Qaeda video on December 5th, walked in and killed and wounded U.S. service members. And later, FBI confirmed he was on a watch list because he was radicalized years before he was allowed to come into the joint training and exercise in America. Now, here's a question. What happens if one of the Qatari pilots or Qatari soldiers gets a call from their Taliban friend or al-Nasr, which is the Al-Qaeda chapter of Qatar, saying, you know what, we need an actual attack on American soil? Are we going to come back with, and no disrespect to you, Hedieh John, or anyone who still thinks Trump isn't familiar with the Islamic aspect of, are we going to still say Trump did it for peace or diplomacy? Or we are going to say, so he had one Saudi second lieutenant killing U.S. soldiers in America in 2019. Then he repeated it in 2016 with Kuwait lieutenants or soldiers or whatever. The problem is we're repeating history. You're right, Hedieh John. We are repeating history. But our leaders aren't repeating it because they're not familiar with it. This was under Trump administration. It's not somebody else's administration that he didn't care to go study or learn or hear about. No, we're repeating history because we Americans don't even know our own history. Forget about the Islamic history. Forget about the socialist, communist, Leninist history. We don't even know our own history. And for us, history is a week long. 1 week in its history, we forgot all about it. So yes, my Substack went a little deeper into all that information, but I strongly believe, as I said, a few weeks ago and a month ago and a month before that, Trump is doing what he's doing because he owes Qatar too much not to bend. From 665th Avenue of Jared Kushner to the golf course to the weapons. Remember, Trump reopened 1 year after that very speech in 2018. He reopened the sales of F-15 to Qataris, which now in their new facility in Idaho, they will have them there. It's a genuine question. What happens if one of these Qataris decide to grab one of those F-15 that belongs to Qatar in U.S. soil and use it against us? Who's going to answer for that?
Wow. Well, this is, I don't know who Valentina Gomez is, Logan. Who is she?
Oh, she's the one who burned the Quran on her video saying, I'm going to stop Islam in Texas.
Okay. So whether I agree with her on all that kind of stuff, which I don't really think we should go around burning the Quran. I think it's more theatrics. I will say she and many others are very angry. Here's a clip from her. I'm just pulling her out because her thing popped up.
Be careful. She does a lot of cussing in her videos.
Oh, here we go. Let's see what happens.
People are obsessed with the Jews in AIPAC when the real problem are the Muslims. I voted for America first and for mass deportations, not for a bunch of Qatari Muslims flying fighter jets over our schools, homes, churches, and even synagogues. Last time a Muslim flew a plane, it took down the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. So I'll say it again. Islam and illegals have no place in America.
All right. So this is going viral. What's that?
I say good job. She kept it clean.
Yeah, she did. This is going viral, this kind of comment and talk. I saw somebody else, the former race car driver, was her name Dana Roche or whatever? Isn't she a former race car driver, Logan? Dana? Huh? Yeah, Dana is a former race car. Am I the only one that knows this? Dana Roche, isn't that her name? She just put out something on this as well. So yeah, there are a lot of people. Why do you think, Hedieh, why do you think this is a tipping point for a lot of people? Because it's just so black and white, so easy to understand?
Well, it's, and I want to go back to Annie's point about, Trump doesn't understand. I don't think it's that Trump doesn't understand. That's not what I'm saying. He doesn't care. He just doesn't see the world in theological terms. It's the same thing Barack Obama said to me. I don't get religion. So it's like our entire State Department. Everything is a deal. It's a diplomatic negotiation. They're not seeing it as the Islamization of America. They don't realize that base with, soldiers and families going through a rotation affects the entire community. Then they build a mosque, then they build a market. And then before you know it, we have these little epic cities all over Idaho. So they're just not paying attention to the effects this has on our country, on our children, on our communities. And they just don't care. It's all about money. It's all about making money. And it's really a travesty that they're just not seeing the long-term ramifications. And I think MAGA's exploding. I mean, if you see Laura Loomer's who's a diehard Trump fan, she's going bananas. I'm not voting in 2026. I can't believe they would do this. I think a lot of people feel betrayed.
She said that. She said, I'm not voting in 2026. She said that. Yes. I saw that today. I was stunned. She put this out. The people of Idaho need to revolt against the creation of a Qatari air base in their state. Technically, I don't think it's a Qatari air base. They're letting them use one of our bases.
No. Brannon, I need to be very clear. I read the whole thing.
Okay.
So here's what they're doing. They are getting permission to build their own facility inside Idaho's Air Force. Their own facility with their own standards, their own code of conduct, their own code of training, all of that. That's what makes it unique. We have had shared training and exercises with foreign countries before, as I said, Saudi Arabia, how the guy ends up killing our servicemen. But this is the first time we have allowed a foreign power of military to build their own facility infrastructure inside one of our facilities.
Okay, so that's where the conflict's coming, because I have some former military guys saying, well, you guys got it close, but they're not building a base. They're on our base. But what you're saying is they're building their own facility on our base. So it's pretty much the same thing then. They're building their base.
They are. That's why Hedieh said they're going to start building their own mosque and market and halal meat as well, because it's becoming their own little town, their own little military base in there. By the way,
Can you imagine moving to Idaho? Can you imagine being one of the people that said, I'm getting out of Michigan, I'm getting out of Minnesota, I'm going to Idaho? And then your president, Trump, Make America First president, puts guitar in your backyard, you're going, we uprooted our whole life from Minnesota, from Michigan.
And guess what? They're not just young age, military age citizens of Gaza. No, they are military soldiers of Qatar, already trained how to take you out. By the way, I should add one more thing. There is also every single contract we ever had with foreign countries, England, France, UK, Canada, Saudi Arabia, any of them. There's always, when they signed and trade, there is an expiration date. It's a 6-month period, 2 year, 1 week, whatever it is. This one has no expiration date. So as of right now, it's technically permanent.
So she says this cannot stand. Every single politician in Idaho needs to be put on notice and told that they won't get your vote unless they condemn the creation of a jihadi air base in Idaho. I'd be willing to temporarily move to Idaho to help spearhead this effort.
I'm willing to temporarily move to Idaho too. I genuinely am.
Can you imagine Laura chaining herself to the military base against Trump?
She changed herself to Twitter, didn't she? Change herself to Twitter?
Yes, she did. That's why I said it. She did. She got arrested. Can you imagine? I mean, it's just, but I've
She just flew on Air Force One a few months ago.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
She walked into the Oval Office and got some people fired. Now, I think she's been frozen out at this point, but this shows you, I mean, this woman was on Air Force One going into the Oval Office. She had access. This is nuts. And I've interviewed Laura and I've talked to her privately numerous times on things over the years. And I don't always agree with everything she says or puts out, but I'll tell you, Laura is clearly not willing to sell out truth and the country for access. I think we can all agree.
Well, two things. First of all, remember, Loomer is a Jew herself. She comes from a family that have faced the persecution of Muslims. Secondly, she is one of the few, which, as you know, I have interviewed her, talked to her, but she's one of the very few people inside MAGA who fully understand Islam. She is aware of Quran. She knows the Hadith. She knows. So it's very hard to fool her when it comes to things like this. She will draw the line.
Well, it's interesting to watch her draw the line because I really didn't think, I mean, she turned against MGT, who she was very closely allied to, but turning against Trump, I think is astounding, you know, and this administration. So I know she's always felt passionately about this issue. She called me a secret honeypot when I was a Muslim. So
Did she really?
Yes, because she did not, she was convinced because I was a Muslim, I was working for the Brotherhood. So,
but you could take it as a compliment too. You're attractive enough to have been able to play that role. You could take it that way too, right? Because it was a left-handed compliment, Hedieh.
Exactly. I mean, it was a really difficult time. I mean, it was all over the internet. I had to shut my Twitter down. It was horrible. Getting attacked by Laura is no fun. But nonetheless, MAGA's exploding. X is just filled with people saying, calm down. Singapore has a similar installation. And people are responding to that being, oh, yeah, so Singapore funds terrorism. Now we're going to compare Singapore to Qatar. And it's right. And they're right. Singapore, you can't compare Singapore to Qatar. So we have to think of the level of investment. And I think it's so important for people to remember the college campus nightmare that's continuing until this day. But shutting down college campuses, persecuting Jewish kids, closing down the ability to hold classes, vandalizing building, that is all funded by the Soros Qatar investment in our colleges. The changing of the study of history, of Islamic studies, of Middle East, of the Crusades, not explaining that it was actually the Muslims who conquered Christendom for 300 years before the Christians even responded. So all of that is done by money. It is, you know, terrorism is a horrible thing, but the Islamization of our country is worse.
Yep.
It's worse.
And what does it mean? What does it mean to you, Hedieh, that they have so many billions of dollars? And I'll make it very clear. I'm not asking for their money and I would not take their money. and I know neither of you would. But what do you think it means when they have so much money? And I'll have you speak to it. No one has ever come to me and said, hey, Brannon, if you'll get off the Islam thing and just talk about Marxism, you can talk about the church, evangelical church, its compromise, as you did in Religious Trojan Horse. You can talk about grave influence. You can talk about Bible prophecy, teach on Revelation, teach on Daniel. Just get off of Islam, and we will make sure that your foundation has more money than they know what to do with. Now, why do you think, Annie, that is again, I wouldn't take their money, but why do you think they've never tried to come by our silence or your silence or Hedieh's silence? Why do you think they've never come to do this, but they pass out money to all these other groups? Do you think it's because A, they know these people are too convicted, and B, eventually they just plan on using their influence with hate crime laws to shut us down and prosecute us? Or C, they need people like us so they can scream Islamophobic?
I would say all of the above. Plus, it's I don't like giving them too much credit, but when it's due, I have to. They are much better than us. And when I say us, I mean America. They're much better than us while studying the enemy. They are not afraid to call their enemy. They're not afraid to study their behavior, their past, their present, their future, their plan. With that being said, they have categorized influencers. They know for a fact, like they could come to me, forget about money. They could say, if you ease down or stop talking about Islam, we'll stop hunting you and wanting you dead. And I'd be like, oh no, keep hunting. Good luck getting me. But no. In my case, it's very proven that forget about money, even if they lift fatwas, I'm not going to stop. In your case, they have watched and monitored your conviction in your faith and in Christ. They know the difference. Believe it or not, they know the difference between a true Christian versus a talking head Christian, because that's how they refer to them, by the way. This is me translating their own titling, true Christian versus talking head Christian. With Hedieh, I think she has seen it. Brannon, how are they going to convict her to stop? How? Like they're going to say what you experienced at the Sufi mosque or the Sunni mosque, it was hijacked. They're going to tell her that all the leaders you met with that had no interest in peace or civilization were wrong leaders. We are the exception. Or same thing with Yosama Dakdok, Sharon Hadian, Jamie Glazow, Danielle Greenfield, Robert Spencer. We're too deeply rooted into the actual facts behind what we're doing for us to give it up. Now, a lot of other conservative Christians, as I said, they call them the talking head Christians of America. That's how they refer to them. They're just talking heads. They don't have conviction. They think they can take the money, do what's supposed to be done, and then, go to church Sunday and confess.
What do you think?
So they're easier to buy.
What do you think, Hedieh?
Great point. I agree with everything Annie said, and I'll just give you an anecdote. A dear friend of mine was a very senior official for Vice President Cheney in the Bush administration. And so she would describe, so I never got the Saudi royal treatment. They've always hated me. So she was giving me insight into what that was like. So she said, they would drive them out, and she's an official. She's an official representative of the vice president. And her and about 15 staff people plus a whole bunch of military guys, intelligence guys, go out to Saudi, and they basically take them out in this gorgeous tent with fur carpets, the most extravagant food, alcohol, tons of alcohol. And she says she's sitting there, and one of the officials comes and lays this beautiful mink coat on top of her. And they're like, so-and-so, we want to give you this mink coat. It looks gorgeous on you. And she looks at them and she's like, I'm sorry, I can't take the coat. And she's just explaining to me like that they very carefully were able to figure out early on who takes it and who doesn't. I can't tell you how many times I've had military guys, CIA guys tell me they used to go out and the Saudis would say, hey, take us to party. They'd come to the United States and say, let's go meet some girls. Take them to Vegas, wherever they wanted to go and party. And they said that they wanted to see not only were the Saudis partying, because this is Dar Harb, Allah doesn't live here. So when they leave Saudi airspace, they're allowed to engage in whatever debauchery they want. It's anthropomorphism. Allah's on a throne and he's over Saudi airspace. So they come here, they party, and they were trying to figure out which guys were susceptible to that. Which guys got too drunk, which guys were willing to do drugs, which guys were willing to engage with prostitutes. All of this was part of their intelligence operations, and they play us like a fiddle because so many people, this goes back to Christendom, so many people do not live pursuing holiness and righteousness as soldiers of Christ that they're easily picked off, easily bought off, easily blackmailed off.
Yes.
And I want to play a little clip here. That's fascinating what you just said. I want to play a little clip here, both of you. The road, this is called The Road to Manhattan. The documentary that was released. Have you seen it, Annie?
No.
It's a documentary released back in 2017, and it supposedly exposes the links between Qatar and the mastermind of 9/11. Let me just play a little bit here.
And handed over to the Americans in March 2003.
عام 2003.
Had it not been for KSM, there's a good chance the 9/11 attacks and everything that sort of came out afterwards would have never happened, because it was his idea that he'd been working on for the better part of a decade.
He's the one who made Al-Qaeda the dangerous and very deadly group that they became. He's the one who took the guidance from his leaders and made it happen. He recruited people, he trained people, he planned the operations, he supervised the execution of the operations. It was really the mastermind behind the attacks on 9/11.
The Daily Telegraph alleged in an article on February 1st, 2011, that came in possession of top-secret documents from WikiLeaks, which show that 3 Qataris supposedly explored the sites of these attacks, and especially the World Trade Center, the White House, the Pentagon, and the CIA headquarters. It pretends that they provided support to the perpetrators of 9/11. The newspaper says that the 3 individuals left the USA after the attacks to London and then to Qatar. The strange thing, says the Daily Telegraph, is that none of the 3 Qataris were mentioned in the final 9/11 investigation commission report. Was any of them connected to the Interior Minister Al-Thani? There is no evidence to suggest that, at least until now, despite the repeated denial by Qatar of any involvement in the 9/11 attacks. Nonetheless, the Qatari Foreign Minister, Mohammed Al-Thani, did not deny that his country is on the list of terrorism, but he pointed out that Qatar lies at what he called the bottom of international terrorism. Qatar is at the bottom of the list of the countries involved in this attack. But it is noticeable that the Qatari authorities later put Abdullah bin Khalid under house arrest because of his alleged connections and sympathy to Al-Qaeda and his supposed connection to KSM. But the decision was not duly implemented, as Qatari media outlets and social media continue showing Abdullah bin Khalid traveling to many destinations and meeting officials in the Qatari government.
What do you think of that, Hedieh?
It's just like when people ask me, what's the difference between Hezbollah, Hamas, Al-Qaeda? Yeah, it's alphabet soup. It doesn't make a difference what country they originate from. It doesn't matter. It's the ideology. It is the religion. It is the global expansionist doctrine of Islam. This is a united effort to destroy the United States, which they see, along with Western Europe, as the ones who destroyed the Ottoman Empire. This is the abode of war that must be conquered. We need to understand that overarching theme and the long game they're playing when we decide anything we do. And unfortunately, nobody in the US government ever has had that perspective. And I don't think we ever will.
I mean, I don't want you, I know you have to be careful what you say because of the things you were involved in your security clearances. But when you were working in the field, what did you think of Qatar? What were you concerned about, if you can say?
The same thing. They're part of the jihadi network. They are part of the ones who fund terrorism. They fund the Muslim Brotherhood. They fund Hamas. They fund, every major terrorist effort and the propagation machine they're involved in. So it's absolutely ridiculous to try to parcel them out as a U.S. ally. I mean, sure, they'll give us money, but that money is part of the conquest.
Yeah. Annie, we hear about Antifa. There was a White House meeting this week with journalists on Antifa, which I'm happy for. I'm glad it happened. Are we ever going to see one on Muslim Brotherhood, and you two and myself and Usama and Shahram invited for one on Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas?
I love your sense of humor today. Absolutely not. No way. Let me go back to the clip you just played before I forget, and then very shortly. KSM, they're talking about on this documentary, though this documentary was about September 11, it's understandable, but Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, KSM, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed wasn't just the mastermind behind September 11. Let's remember, he was also the mastermind behind 1993 bombing, who then was in Qatar, who then CIA confirmed in 2003 that the first time after 1993 when they tried to capture him, Qatari officials gave him a heads up and gave him safe passage out of Qatar to next hiding place. So, though the start of that clip says if it wasn't for KSM, September 11 maybe possibly wouldn't be happening, I would say if it wasn't for Qatari government keeping him safe after 1993, September 11 would definitely not happen. I think that's an important point for Americans to know. This very government is now going to have a base, military base in America. Back to your question, I released a Substack yesterday talking specifically about terror list of America, how it's a business and has nothing to do with national security or safety of Americans. And yes, I have named not just Muslim Brotherhood, but other terrorist lists that never made it to terrorist list because they are still useful for U.S. government one way or another. And Muslim Brotherhood, every single time they're going to think about it, they're going to talk about it, they will consider it, but they're not going to do it. And a lot of them who did make it to terrorist list, Brannon, if you think about them, took decades for them to somehow, somebody was finally done with them. They stopped listening, like Al-Qaeda, right? Like Hamas. They stopped being useful for America and its policies, so they were pushed into the list. Muslim Brotherhood will not be, they will never stop being useful.
And that issue, especially with this Qatar deal, is dead. The designating Muslim Brotherhood is most likely dead in the water now.
Absolutely.
Which
so
means,
is al-Nusra. So is the Al-Qaeda of Qatar. They never made it, and definitely it's going to be permanently not making it to terror list.
Which means this Islamic terrorist network and their training camps and whatnot will keep going. And I have guys in law enforcement who tell me, and I have citizens who tell me of the Islamists that are practicing with some pretty snazzy semi-automatics out in fields. Tell me of the 50 young military-age males that gather regularly and wear. And this, I'm just talking in my community, you know? Not to mention the people that are talking about this going on all over the country and can tell you about it, who are either law enforcement or former law enforcement, former FBI. Some of them are still tracking these people that they tracked while they were in their job. Now they do it as a citizen. That means, I'll go back to this map. That means this kind of thing and this network, which Steve Emerson, you know, I got to get Steve back on my program.
Yes.
Steve has detailed all this for us here just in the last last year or so. I've interviewed him a couple times on it. As we wrap, here's my two questions for you both. Hedieh, what will we look back and say about the Trump administration? Will much of MAGA and America be disillusioned with him eventually in the future, as we are with George W. Bush? And what do you believe America will look like based on the fact we will not go after Islam in America? We will not designate Muslim Brotherhood and carry these groups, the terrorist organizations that I think they should be. What do you think America will look like 5-10 years from now? So what do you think we'll look back and say about President Trump and his administration? Will it be the way we look at George W. Bush now? And what will America be like 5 to 10 years from now when it comes to Islam?
You two probably won't like my answer, but I think the effects of what Trump has done with the Muslim world and their influence in the United States will not be felt when he leaves office. And in fact, it'll be the opposite. People are going to hail him as a peacemaker, as building the U.S. economy, bringing all this investment back into the United States. And it's the difference with Bush is that Bush's projects in the Middle East failed. And so people will not realize in the immediate aftermath of his presidency what harm has been done by virtue of his policies. So what does America look like 5 to 10 years from now, 15 years from now? We start to look like Europe. And the blame for that is not going to go to Trump. It's going to start all the way back to Bush. People are going to say it's Biden and his 20 million people, the immigrants that he let in, and that's what happened. It was the influx of the immigrants, and they're going to blame it on Barack Hussein Obama. No one's going to pinpoint it and dump that entirely on Trump. And so we're going to continue with the Islamization of America, and it took, as I said, Christians 300 years to respond. What will it take for Americans to respond? The difference with Europe is we are an armed population. So how long will Americans tolerate it before they respond? So is it the anarchists that drive us into a civil war? Is it Islam united with the anarchists that drive us into a civil war? Or does the Lord return? I don't know, but whatever it is, it does not look good. We are not moving in a positive direction as a result of the peace in the Middle East. That does not fix what's happening here in the United States and the Islamization of our country.
Annie?
I actually agree with you, Hedieh John. I agree with you. And that is why I have already started a project. I don't believe he's going to finish his term. I don't. As soon as his use for the green access is done, he'll be done, because next phase needs to happen. However, whenever that last day is, as of a week ago, I already started a book. It will be published after he's done with office. End of his term, earlier, doesn't matter. Because I'll make sure Americans will have a source to remember who did what when. Because you're right. There are those who will absolutely emphasize on Obama started it. Bush going to Iraq was the problem. I still hear people saying if Bush wouldn't go to Iraq, they wouldn't be provoked to come here. Lack of understanding. Even though they all played a role, but Trump has definitely, again, I hold one very personal grudge, which was saving the Ayatollah's life. That will be plastered. Probably I'm going to use font 68 bold on my book about that day. But I agree with you. Americans are not going to look back, and they don't do it today, and they're not going to look back. He's definitely not going down as the best president as he expects. But he will still be cherished and loved and, MAGA to many. But what I do disagree with, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years are big gaps when it comes to the situations right now. So I'm just going to go for the 5 years. In 5 years, I think Islamization through social media, through schools and Hijra and Hudna will double itself.
Double
itself, yes. The map you just showed me, I can tell you there are 3 missing places on that map. Like North Carolina, on the list I made of the conquered cities, there's Islamville, North Carolina. That should be on the map, on your red map. Islamville, I mean, what do we even call it? Jihad base or already Islamabad, whichever, your choice. They literally named their town. The city is called Islamville. There are 2 of them. So they will dabble their Islamization by population. More representatives in offices, more teachers in the schools, more halal and chapters of Muhammad in the books. By the way, I know your audience knows, I said Hijra and Hudna. Hijra is by immigration. Hudna is what Hamas just did. Temporarily agree to diplomacy until you can regroup or come up with a new plan to attack the enemy. That's what Hamas have been doing, or that's what Iran did. So that's what they will use. I agree with Hedieh. We're not going to see, you know, the slaughters on the street or conquer and flags coming. Not yet. Not yet. However, we will be very quietly conquered, especially if people continue covering for Trump, especially if people constantly saying, at least give him a credit, he's trying, he's doing something, you know, the non-stop cover and excuse and hope. I had people literally message me saying, have some faith in him. Like, if you didn't know I'm a Christian, my faith is only in God. But you go ahead and have faith in him. Well, so as long as that's going on, the quiet conquer continues.
Well, and again, where is this?
There's a Muslim problem in the world.
But you do believe overall there is a Muslim problem in the world?
Well, there is a Muslim problem, absolutely. You just have to turn on your television set. I think Islam hates us.
Did you mean all 1.6 billion Muslims?
I mean a lot of them.
You look at what's happening with the Quran, it's a pretty scary thing. There's something there that teaches some very negative vibe. They do not respect us at all. Large portions of a group of people, Islam, large portions want to use very, very harsh means. You have more than a handful of moderate Muslims, but you certainly have a problem with Muslims. If you have people coming out of mosques with hatred and with death in their eyes and on their minds, we're going to have to do something.
They're trying to take over our children and convince them how wonderful ISIS is and how wonderful Islam is, and we don't know what's happening. And we have to look at the Muslims, and we have to do something. We cannot stand by and be the stupid people while our country is destroyed. I want surveillance of certain mosques, okay?
Wow. What
that
happened?
never happened.
Where did that Trump go?
Exactly.
Oh, here's where he went. The same place Candace Owen and Tucker Carlson went. On their payroll of the Islamic countries. Genuinely. Wow. I actually concluded my Substack on the Qatar base saying, you all thought that Trump cannot be bought. Well, I guess they bought him in bulk. Everybody has a price.
Montage?
Pardon?
Did you make that montage?
No, I wish I did.
That was amazing.
And remember, those speeches are, majority of them are from 2015 and 2016 when he's running against Hussein Obama.
Exactly.
The talking points were perfect, that he believed in everything he's saying. No, those were his talking point for his campaign as we're coming out from a country frustrated from Hussein Obama inviting Muslim Brotherhood to the White House, giving billions to Iran. So they were, majority of them were talking points. Wow. But that's why I say he can't claim he doesn't know Islam, because to have the talking points, you got the hint of what you're dealing with. Now, if you choose to have different values, that's your personal choice. But he does know.
I don't believe he doesn't know. I personally never said he doesn't know. He's choosing.
Oh, no, I'm talking to people. Like, if you go, I'm not inviting you, but if you check out my Facebook post and comments, 70% of excuse for him is like, oh, don't blame him. He doesn't know anything about Islam. No, he does.
Oh, that's ridiculous. No, he's making a conscious choice not to factor that stuff into the equation anymore. And I actually would be one of the people who wouldn't believe he could be bought, that he had enough money. But it's an interesting thing, because you mentioned Jared Kushner and Eric Trump and the investments. It's different for you than it is for your kids. Like, you know, that paternal, maternal instinct to want success and prosperity for your children. Because remember, Jared's married to his daughter, Ivanka, who he loves very much, and wanting to see them grow. I could see how that would also be factoring into his calculation. Like, okay, I need to quit it on the Islam is a problem thing because I want these benefits for my family. It's a cost benefit enough.
But if he does, if what I think doesn't happen, which I don't know if I want it to happen or not, but if he does have the next year as the president, I will say, buckle up. This is about to get a lot more worse. What he was aiming at, he didn't get. I shouldn't laugh, but I think it's funny. He didn't get his Peace Prize. He's going to aim for next year. That means he's going to shake anybody's hand in whatever circumstances to get that Peace Prize next year. So don't be shocked if he even becomes more soft on Islam terrorists. Don't be shocked if he makes more deals with these people to try to win that. We all know he is humanly obsessed with having the Peace Prize. And since he missed it today, he's going to try to get it next year.
liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com, and then resurrectministry.com. Is that right, Hedieh?
Yes.
Hedieh Mirahmadi. I'm working.
Wow.
Pretty
nice job, Brannon. Nice job.
What was that? What was that, Hedieh? What'd you say?
Yes, that was correct. That was awesome.
Broken clocks right twice a day.
Well, Brannon, we're rubbing off on you. Soon you're going to come on air with Persian accent, throwing Farsi words around.
I know. You used her name a while ago, and it sounded like you added the word Joe to the end of her name. What did you say? What did you call her?
John.
John.
Oh, John.
It's a
John, my dear.
Oh, it means my dear?
Yes. I say dear Annie or dear Brannon.
So how did you say it again?
Hedieh.
What did you say to her?
John.
No, but you said...
Say the full thing.
Yeah. Hedieh John.
Okay. Which means dear...
Hedieh.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. Well, I didn't know.
Endearment that Persians use to one another.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
That's and if it's okay, I know you're okay with this. I just wanted to let your audience know that our Christmas sale actually started.
Good.
We are running 30% off across the store. Any item, 30% off, and it is now running. LUTFstudio.com. You can get 30% off, and all the Christmas items are listed as well. So get your Christmas gift, get your ornaments. I don't know. I got some Christmas earrings if anybody's interested, because I do those. So yes, 30% off. All items. So head over to LUTFstudio.com.
And this helps fund a lot of what Annie does as well. Do you have anything you want to promote, Hedieh?
Other than the beautiful diamond art above me, which is Annie's. Some people should know. But yeah, my Instagram, I don't have a lot of followers. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, it would be a blessing, Hedieh Mirahmadi. And you can find all my socials on the website, resurrectministry.com.
Excellent. Great job, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brannon. Be safe, Hedieh John.
Yes, absolutely. Now you know why the John's on the end. There you go. And by the way, folks, again, where are you going to get this? You think Fox News would do what we just did? Newsmax, any of the rest of them? I don't think so. So we are your Christian Worldview Network. We are committed to truth. That's it. Reason, logic, and context. That we love to say that. Reason, logic, and context. And what we mean by that is reason. That means to discern what is reality. To discern what is reality. That's reason. And then logic. That means to test what is reality. Christians are called to do that, aren't they? To test all things. So reason is to discern what is reality. That's reason. Logic is to test what is reality. Reason, logic. And the last one, context, so that we can understand in reality. Understanding in reality. Not understanding through lies, which doesn't bring understanding, brings confusion and deception. So it's very important we have reason, logic, and context so we can discern, we can test, we can understand. Now, if you appreciate that we do that, we have to have your support. We didn't break for commercial during all that. So please go right now if you would. Worldviewfoundation.com and make a contribution. Worldviewfoundation.com. And if you'd like to gain access to all of our keynote talks from last weekend, part 2 of my interview with Catherine Austin Fitz yesterday, worldviewtube.com/vault. You can join at any membership level, worldviewtube.com/vault. All right? And we'll be right back after this break. We have a big announcement, folks. It's called Bella Melt. So in the first week, you lost 3 pounds on this, right?
That is correct.
Your GLP-1 is a natural hormone that's in every single one of our bodies. And your GLP-1 lets you know if you're full. It's a satiety hormone. So when your GLP is working properly, it does help suppress your appetite as well as reduce those cravings. So what it's going to do best is it's going to reduce your sugar cravings or any other cravings you have in your body. It's going to suppress that appetite. But where Melissa got the most benefit, I think, over the last week was the L-carnitine. The L-carnitine tells your mitochondria, this is where you make, we talked about it before, this is where you produce energy in your cells. It actually tells those mitochondria to burn fat for fuel.
MelissaHouseBG.com just now introducing for the first time Bella Melt with GLP-1 fast action. Joining me now is Garland Favorito. Here's a headline over at the National Pulse. Ding dong, Dominion's dead. U.S.-owned Liberty Vote acquires Dominion voting systems in historic deal. Are you about as confused as I am on this one? Because I sure am confused. So we called up Garland, who could maybe unconfuse us all. Garland, welcome back to the broadcast. Garland Favorito of voterga.org. Garland, what is this all about?
Brannon, thank you. I'm equally as confused as you, but we have I can share some insight that we might have.
Okay.
So first of all, there's different articles out there. One of the key things to know is that Scott Leyendecker is the founder of No Inc., which is the public system, which tightly integrates with Dominion voting system. So that's a whole issue that we need to talk about. But I think the first question that I would want to know about this whole thing is, how much did Scott Leyendecker pay for Dominion? You know, Dominion was a $50 million company that allegedly received $787 million from Fox News in a settlement in which they would have had to prove that they were injured, and they would have to prove that Fox News themselves were malicious in their programming, both of which would have been extreme hurdles. And even if that we're able to achieve that, that's only a $50 million company. So the question is, did Scott Leyendecker pay $1 billion for Dominion, or did he get it for chump change because Dominion has so many security issues and foreign connections that it is no longer a viable product in our country?
Okay, so how does this help people like our buddy Mike Lindell, or Newsmax, or any of the rest of them?
Well, the good news is,
because aren't those folks still in litigation with this company?
I think Mike has said that, but the good news is that they claim that all of those lawsuits are going to be dropped if they have not already.
Who claimed that? Who's claiming that?
Well, we've heard, I don't know if it was officially a quote from Scott or if it was just reported by the news agencies that have talked to him. I think there was a couple that have actually talked with him briefly about that. But I know Mike said his lawsuit is still going on. I would suspect that they have to drop those lawsuits now.
So you've talked to Mike about this?
No, I have not talked about him with him personally, but I heard he had announced the other day that his lawsuit is still going on for the moment.
Okay, I mean, I'm texting him right now. See if he answers and if he'll come on the broadcast about it. That's very interesting. Okay, so now there's something in this article, is there not, about election reform and paper ballots? What's going on? Is this new company going to get a new name and be involved in pushing paper ballots?
Well, the new name is Liberty Vote. And what he is saying is that he is going to be an advocate of hand-marked paper ballots, which by default he has no choice because the president has already ordered the Election Assistance Commission to decertify all QR-coded vote tabulation systems, which includes the Dominion Democracy Suite 5.5 system that's installed in, I think, a couple of dozen of states. So that's really not too surprising. He doesn't really have a choice. Dominion's and ES&S's days of QR code vote tabulation were ended by President Trump on March 25th when he signed that executive order, which commanded the Election Assistance Commission to decertify all such systems.
Okay. So at the end of the day, what do you think this all means? If you had to guess, I mean, it's kind of fluid, but if you had to guess, what do you think all this means? And by the way, what do you think he paid for it?
Well, right. That's the $64,000 question. I think he paid chump change for it because Dominion has no value anymore because of its foreign influence and foreign connections, not because of Mike Lindell or any Fox News or Newsmax or OAN, but because their system is extremely unsecure, which we have been talking about since January 7th when we did our press conference. And I think you had me on back then to talk about all the security flaws in the system. So I think that's something that we need to consider. Also, I'd like to know is John Poulos being retained or contracted by the new company, the CEO of Dominion? Is he going to remain on staff or is he going to go?
Oh, wow. Look at that headline Logan just found. Dominion quietly settled lawsuits against Giuliani and others ahead of its sale, but it's still suing Mike Lindell.
Yes, very interesting. So
does the article say why, Logan?
Will they settle this lawsuit?
He's looking.
Or are they just haven't gotten around to Mike yet? That's a very interesting question, and that's going to impact their future sales if they don't drop that lawsuit. But here's a couple other things to think about, Brannon, for your listeners. How are they going to decommission these systems? The Dominion system, as we've explained, never was legitimately certified because it stores encryption keys in clear plain text in the database based on expert witness testimony from a fellow Clay Parikh, as well as Ben Cotton. So they've testified in the DeKalb GOP versus Ravensburger case back here on September 30th, 2024, that there are massive security flaws in the system. So how are these all going to be corrected? Are they just going to be permanently decommissioned? Are they going to move to open source voting systems that are readily available for public inspection? And how are they going to get these systems recertified, if at all? Or are they just going to develop all new systems? And on top of all that, Brannon, how are they going to meet the federal critical infrastructure requirements with all the foreign ownership, the foreign programming, the foreign chipsets, the foreign manufacturing that they all do? How is that all going to play out? I don't know that it can. I think that Scott's going to have to start from scratch with an all-new voting system, but it leaves us with the thought that this system is much too insecure to be used for the 2026 elections.
Mike said, if you put down that I was very defiant and I will not back down, end quote, Lindell said, quote, and just because there's some new owner, that he's going to come on and say, oh, Mike, if you drop this, will you be a good boy and not talk about the machines? It ain't happening, end quote. That's in the article on Yahoo. It's also picked up, I guess, by Insider. So there you go. Interesting. We'll see if we can get Mike on about this.
Yeah, that'd be great. And Brannon, one of the key things to think about, we started off the show with, was the fact that knowing poll books are integrated with the Dominion voting system. They're getting more and more integration. This is going to provide the ability eventually for a one-stop shop where you can get your poll book and your voting system to count the votes all at the same vendor. And that's going to create a major problem in that the voter registration and check-in is not compartmentalized from the vote system count. So The vendor, as you now know, No Inks is moving more and more towards the online poll books, even on election day, which is unnecessary. So you could conceivably basically cast a fraudulent vote and then check off somebody as voting for that vote. And it really opens the door for a greater risk of rigging elections in the near future.
Voterga.org, voterga.org. All right. Thanks for unscrambling it for us. Appreciate it, Garland.
Anytime, Brannon.
Garland Favorito, checking in. We'll be right back.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com. Joining me now is Jonathan Hansen and Carla Limbs. Carla's been with us before. I don't know if Jonathan's been with us or not. We'll find out. I just saw him shake his head. No, he has not been with us. So welcome back, Carla, and welcome for the first time, Jonathan. They are running as a team in South Dakota on the ticket for governor and lieutenant governor. Guys, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks a lot for having us. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you for running. Tell me a little about yourself, Jonathan. You're the one running for governor, correct?
That's right. I'm running for governor of the great state of South Dakota. I'm the Speaker of the South Dakota House of Representatives. And, you know, me and Carla, we've been fighting the fight for conservative values in the state of South Dakota, down in the trenches, and really leading on the issues, the big issues in the state of South Dakota, and winning for conservative Republican values. And so whether that's fighting against the Green New Deal carbon scam pipeline, or whether that's winning for life by defeating an abortion amendment called Abortion Amendment G here in South Dakota, we have been down in the trenches, in the arena, fighting for our values and winning. And it's that kind of leadership that we want to bring to our executive branch.
And Carla, remind our audience a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, I just finished my third year in the South Dakota legislature. Got into the fight kind of during the 2020 election, was frustrated with what was going on in Washington, D.C., saw what happened on January 6th. And it was like, what is going on in our federal government? There was a seat open for me to run, and ended up running and winning in South Dakota, got to peer and started to see we had our own issues here in our very red state of South Dakota. And one of them was that property rights issue that just happened to land right on my desk. And it kind of became the thing that I fought for about 3 years in the legislature, bill after bill after bill.
You're talking about the CO2 pipeline, right?
Yes. And you know, both of us know that property rights are so important. George Washington said, freedom and property rights are inseparable. We cannot have one without the other. that is why that was such an important fight in South Dakota, and we did win this last year. However, John could probably tell you, we even had to make a trip to DC to make sure that the federal government didn't override our bill here.
Wow. Now, the big important question, how many of you know my old 10th grade civics teacher, Senator Jim Bolin?
Oh, absolutely. Jim Bolin's a good friend.
That was my 10th,
He was your teacher?
That's
amazing.
My 10th grade civics teacher. Can you believe that?
That's awesome. I love it.
My 10th grade
Great man. I served with Jim for many years in the legislature.
I have a handwritten letter written to me by him from 2017. It's framed right outside my office door. He actually, when I was in 10th grade, he and I together went to a Republican, Minnesota Republican convention. I was more into politics in high school than probably anybody else. He was my civics teacher. We hit it off. And he's like, I'm going to go to this thing. You want to go? And I'm like, sure, let's go. So we went together and to the GOP convention, and we had a blast. And he stayed a friend after I got out of high school. And like I said, he sent me a really nice letter, handwritten letter in 2017. And we've talked on the phone a little bit here and there. So yeah, I know that's probably a little shocking to you guys, but
I didn't know that. Small world.
It is a very small
teacher.
world. Because he was up in Minnesota where I was, and I'm not from Minnesota, but I was up there because my dad was with the federal government. We got transferred up there, came back down here to Tennessee. I'm from the Mid-South originally, and family's here. But yeah, Jim's a good guy. Say hello to him for me. And of course, the former Speaker of the House has been a guest on this show many times. Help me out, guys, with his name real quick.
Steve Howgard?
Steve Howgard.
Steve?
Thank you. I had a senior moment there. Steve's been a guest on the show many times. And at some of our Worldview weekends. Let's talk a little bit about something I dealt with a guest yesterday. She was in the studio. We had a state senator here from Tennessee in the studio. She's working on legislation to deal with programmable money. How concerned are you guys when it comes to programmable money, stable coins and these things? You know, to make sure we don't get something like a central bank digital currency, regardless of what you name it, that allows corporations maybe to do these things with the government standing behind, and we'll get the corporations to do it. Since the government maybe can't do it or doesn't want to do it, we'll get the corporations to do it. How do you guys stand on the idea of putting something into place, say in South Dakota, to protect the folks in South Dakota from programmable money that can debank them, turn them off, penalize them, be tied to social credit scores, vaccine passports, any of that? You first, Jonathan.
Well, those protections have got to be put into place. You know, Carla just gave that famous quote from George Washington: freedom and property rights are inseparable. You can't have one without the other. Well, the same goes for cash. I think cash and freedom are inseparable. You cannot have one without the other. Because as we've seen, even in Canada, you know, when they disagreed with those Canadian truckers, they just tried to shut down their bank accounts. And the more you let government control your financial transactions through digital currencies, the more that will absolutely happen. And so we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can in our state to protect our citizens, to maintain their freedom to transact without government interference or government knowing everything you're doing, and then being able to stop whatever they want to stop because they want control. So we had a bill, a couple of years ago in the legislature, and it purported to start to put in references and sort of, I think, greasing the skids or paving the way for a central bank digital currency. Carla and I both voted against that in the legislature. Unfortunately, it passed all the way through. And then we really sounded the alarm. And thankfully, at the time, our governor, Noem, vetoed that bill. And so we have been standing firm, protecting our citizens against things like central bank digital currency. And we're always going to continue to do that.
Good. Carla, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have to be able to protect our citizens of South Dakota from any kind of federal government system that they want to put in, because we certainly do not want to live in a digital prison, because they can shut that money on and off. As we know that I've heard you, Brannon, talk about China with their social credit score. That is what this would be. And anytime you get something like that is digital, tied to a digital ID, that they can permit you or not permit you to buy and sell, That's pretty scary. I think the book of Revelation talks about something like that. And we certainly want to protect our people of South Dakota from anything like that.
Absolutely. Revelation 13. Okay, so what other big items are you guys? How about money? How about gold and silver's legal tender? Tennessee, I think, is working on that. Many other states are as well. Are you guys working on anything like that?
You know, there have been some ideas floated in the legislature that have come up in the past, and those will continue to come up again. You know, I think we're both open to those concepts. Again, like we were talking about, you know, anything to make sure that the people of our state have the freedom to transact without the government meddling in their life or telling them what they can buy, or, you know, maybe the government doesn't like this particular behavior anymore, and so they're going to try to restrict your ability to do that through controlling your currency. That will not happen in South Dakota, and we will continue to do everything that we can do to make sure that people have the freedom to transact without excessive or, you know, all of this government interference that we've seen attempted in other places. We don't want that here in South Dakota. We're not going to let it happen.
Good. And what about the 10th Amendment? Where are you guys standing on the idea of trying to make sure that your state, along with a few others, is reminding the federal government the powers the federal government has are limited and expressed, and the unlisted powers belong to the states and respective people thereof? How are you guys, you know, looking at that as far as policies in South Dakota?
Well, I think it's always important to remember, it's been said before, but it's the states that created the federal government and not the other way around. And we're really serious about that. And so we're not going to just sit by and let the federal government come in and trample our rights, either under our federal constitution or our state constitution. You know, as Carla mentioned earlier, there was an attempt after we passed private property rights protections in South Dakota. You know, the federal government, there's some politicians and lobbyists out there, they tried coming in and overriding all of those landowner protections that we lawfully put into place in South Dakota. And so we sounded the alarm. We said that is unacceptable. We even went out to Washington, D.C. and spoke to members of our congressional delegation and other members of Congress. And we said, you will not put that provision in this bill, and it better stay out of the bill. And it did. And so, you know, that's one of those things where this is not something where we're just talking the talk. We're actually going out and doing the work and making sure that our state's rights are always preserved. And when there's any infraction, when there's any pushback against our rights under the Constitution, whether that's the 10th Amendment or otherwise, we're going to continue to make sure that our rights are defended and that the federal government doesn't engage in this massive overreach like we've seen in the past.
Excellent. Carla, is there anything on your platform as a ticket that you want to mention to the audience that I haven't asked you about?
Well, you know, what we've seen here in South Dakota is a lot of crony capitalism going on, which kind of ties into that whole CO2 pipeline fight because of the 45Q tax credits. That's not the only thing that we see where it seems like we are having a lot of our tax money being used for projects or company, you know, the mega companies that are coming in, Amazon, for example, and like John can speak to some of these things too, that we've seen a lot of taxpayer abuse happening at the expense of the big corporations that want to come in. John and I are all for economic growth. The free market, that is what has is tried and true throughout our nation's history, what has made us such a great, strong country. We want to bring that back again and make sure that we are not, as the government, picking winners and losers and incentivizing entrepreneurs and small businesses and medium businesses and even large businesses. But let's get that out there and let's see the free market work once again without government interference, picking winners and losers.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you? Did I miss anything, Jonathan, that you want to talk about?
No, I'll just, piggyback on that. We want to put families and the people of South Dakota first again. And like Carla was saying, so many times in our state government, we're seeing families and the people take a back seat to big corporate lobbyists and special interests. And we are the candidates in this race who are going to push back against that and end that once and for all. I'm so sick of when people's rights are on the ropes, you don't have politicians who are up there defending your rights. We have been there. We're going to continue to be there to defend your rights. We are not going to allow corporate lobbyists and big special interests take the front seat. We are putting families and the people first again in this state. That's who we are. That's what we've been doing in our state legislature, and that's exactly what we're going to continue to do in the governor's office.
Excellent. Well, I want to keep a track of your race. Now, when is there a primary? I'm guessing there is on the Republican side, right? When is that?
That's right. Yep. There's a primary in June of next year. And so June of next year, we need everybody to get out and support Hansen and Lems for governor. And once we get past the primary, we'll move on to the general election in November.
Okay. So we're going to be getting you guys back between now and June. We have a pretty good size audience in South Dakota. You know, my radio show covers and blankets South Dakota, as you probably well know. So we'll be getting you guys back on. Now, the most important question, how is the pheasant hunting going to be this year?
Oh, I think it's going to be tremendous. I mean, you can't hardly drive down the road in a rural area of this state without almost running into one with your car. So I think the brood count is exceptionally high right now. And so we welcome all of our visitors to come into South Dakota and shoot our state bird.
Absolutely.
It's what we love to do around here, and we'd love to have you, and you'll have a great time.
I have done that several times, as well as rounding up cattle on horseback in your state. You guys, I'm sure, make it to Huron every now and then, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know if you guys know my friends Mark and Paula Kleinsaucer.
Carla, I don't know those guys. That name rings a bell, but I can't say that I know them too well.
They're tied back to James Valley Christian School there in Huron, where that's how I met them years ago in the early 90s, going in there and speaking. My wife and I going in there and then rounding up cattle with Mark and some of the other guys, and we had a great time. They became close friends, and our families vacationed together, and I'd go up there and pheasant hunt. They have a beautiful barn. I think the Amish built them a beautiful barn, and they do a lot of events and host a lot of groups for hunting, and they're a great family there in Huron. We love Huron. We love the whole state of South Dakota. We love Huron, South Dakota. We've really spent a lot of time there. Great people. And if anyone ever has the chance to go hunting in South Dakota, pheasant hunting, they ought to do it. Do you hunt, either one of you?
Absolutely. I love pheasant hunting. It's a great time. Yep.
And we've got
my husband is the big hunter in my family. So
your husband's the big hunter.
Along with him.
You walk along with him, and I'm sure you cook. You cook the pheasant for him too, right?
We do. Well, he's better at the pheasant than I am, but I eat it.
Well, we love pheasant. I'll tell you what, we've had a blast up there. A lot of great memories. Go to a wide shot. I'll show you my what should be a hunting dog. Is she going to show up on camera? She's not going to show up on camera. I guess they don't have a camera pointed at her. But my yellow lab is asleep on the pet bed next to the desk where everybody's used to seeing her. Now, that should be a hunting dog, but I have to tell you, she's turned into a studio dog. It's a good thing I got her, because if somebody had gotten her thinking they were going to get a hunting dog out of her, they would have been sorely disappointed, because this is number 6. And I've had a lot of great yellow lab hunting dogs I've taken up to South Dakota, but this one here would not hunt, okay? She's scared of her own shadow. The guy I got her from, I got my other lab from her as well. He had a cannon set up on his farm here in Tennessee that would go off every so often to get these puppies used to that loud noise. Well, the property started being, the homeowners started going out there and neighborhoods, and then the neighborhood said, we don't want to hear that cannon going off every X minutes. And he then, unfortunately, got cancer, passed away, and the cannon wasn't going off. She wasn't being trained. She has no idea about loud noises, and she is scared to death of brooms and vacuum cleaners and fireworks. So thankfully, I was the one that got her. And she's a studio dog, but I have a long line of hunting dogs that some of them I've taken up to South Dakota and had a blast. And I would say we'd come back up there, but if I brought her with me, she'd have to stay in the hotel because she is not hunting. But I might have to borrow your husband's dog, Carla.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we're going to wish you well, guys. What's your website?
HansenLems2026.com. You can also find us on Facebook, John Hansen for Governor. Like, comment, share. It really helps to spread the message. We are a grassroots campaign, and the more that you get on there, share the stuff, the more opportunity we have to really restore our government back to we the people.
I like the sound of that. We're going to be getting you guys back. We have a lot of time between now and June, so we'll definitely be getting you back as issues come up. Reach out to me. Anything you want to talk about, you're welcome back anytime. And tell Senator Jim Bolin I said hello.
We will do that. Thanks, Brannon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Check out their website. Follow them on social media. Tell your family and friends about them. Go and hear them speak if they're coming to a town hall near you. All right. I know they've been in the trenches. Carla's been on the broadcast before, fighting that CO2 pipeline. It's great to have Jonathan on tonight. Both Jonathan and Carla running there, governor and lieutenant governor of South Dakota. All right. We'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. I want to thank you for all your support at WVWFoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at WVWFoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at WVWFoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. Joining me now is Rick Anson. He is the developer. He's a developer of products there at Bella Grace. And of course, we are pretty excited about the Bella Melt. You know, Melissa got on those. In the first week alone, she lost 3 pounds in 1 week. Rick Anson, he joins us now. Rick, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Hello, Brannon. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Great to have you with us. Hey, tell me, this has gone crazy. I mean, the sales on this have gone nuts, first of all. Are you guys shocked at the volume of sales you're doing?
Somewhat, yes. Very, very happy. Of course, we've spent 3 years developing an oral sublingual GLP-1 that mimics how the drugs work. So it's very nice to see the sales. We anticipate this product opening up a $90 billion U.S. market, 10 times bigger because of the way that we formulate this, and that's an oral GLP-1 instead of a shot.
So let's put up melissahousebg.com. That's where they can get it, melissahousebg.com. Why is it an oral product like this of GLP-1 needed? Why versus the shot?
Yeah, the big 3 drug companies, Eli Lilly, Pfizer, and Novo, have been trying to develop an oral for the last 3 years. The reason the oral is globally more accepted is no side effects. We have 0 side effects compared to the shot. 50% of the people that start a GLP-1 12-week cycle, 50% quit after 4 weeks because the side effects are just so much for them, so strong, so nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headaches, hair loss, even some pancreatic issues. So they get off these. 25% of the people around the world do not even start a GLP-1 injectable because they're needles. But the number one reason is because GLP-1 drugs right now in the United States and around the world are for the few who can afford it, who have the ability to go to a doctor. Our GLP-1 sublingual fast melts are for the many. Around the world, and we're going into India next month, around the world, these people can afford a product like ours that's less than half the cost of a GLP-1 drug. And it's for the many without the side effects, without the invasive needles. And so it's just a complete game changer in weight management and in weight loss.
What's the average you're hearing people are losing a week on this?
An average a week is between 5 to 7 pounds, and the average in 10 weeks is 28 pounds.
And are they taking it 3 times a day before or after each meal?
Yeah, the people who want to lose weight initially take 3 fast melts, the Bella Melt every day, 3 times a day, 30 minutes before each meal, 3 times a day. And what's amazing with the Bella Melts, once you hit your desired weight loss goal, whether it's 5 pounds or 20 pounds, then you go down to 1 to 2 fast melts a day for the weight prevention and all the metabolic wellness that you get with them.
Now, what about children? I mean, some teenagers. I know some teenagers struggle with weight, but what's the policy when it comes to children under 18?
Yeah, I love that you asked that because we're very much in alignment with MAHA's initiatives, and the number one initiative for MAHA in the country right now, besides getting people off of these vaccine shots, is to end childhood obesity. 1 in 5 children in the United States is considered obese. They know that 75% of those children will grow up to be obese and have lifelong health and wellness products or issues. Our products are 100% safe for children. They're plant-based or fruit-based. There's no side effects. In fact, there's positive side effects of our Bella Melt. So they're 100% safe for children. And it's a staggering stat that 1 in 5 children in this country are considered obese.
It really is. How long should people be taking this? I mean, is this a thing you do for a month, 2 months, every day for as long as you want? What's the deal?
Yeah, as long as you want. What we've created here with the Bella Melts as a daily GLP-1 product is the ability to lose weight with the Bella Melts. And then once you've hit your desired weight loss goals, have the weight prevention and all of the other benefits, health benefits that come with the Bella Melts. That's NAD for beauty, for anti-aging. We have protein. We have
it has NAD in it? Has NAD?
We put NAD in every in every Bella Melt. Yes.
Wow. And it also has some heart benefits, right?
100%. We have structure function claims of the 28.1 pounds weight loss in 10 weeks, lowers your body fat composition by 16% in 10 weeks, but also lowers your risk of metabolic syndrome, and that's stroke, heart attack by over 50%, cardiovascular heart disease by 50%, and lowers your LDL cholesterol, which is your bad cholesterol, by up to 27% in 10 weeks.
Now, how about one of our viewers asked the other day, Melissa asked me to ask you this, how about getting rid of stubborn belly fat? I know the Bella Trim was targeting that. Does Bella Melt also target that stubborn belly fat?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, we clinically proven 6.7-inch reduction in waist size in 10 weeks as well. So it'll absolutely work. It's multiple mechanisms of action. We work multiple ways in the body to lose weight. We shrink your fat cells, and it's thermogenic fat burning. So we're working multiple ways for the patients to lose weight and keep that weight off, and absolutely around the waist is one of them.
So what's the future when it comes to Bella Melts and the global metabolic weight market that's out there?
We have the ability with this product and this company to scale to every region of the world that needs a safe, reliable GLP-1 that's an oral. The big 3 pharma companies spent over $100 million trying to create an oral, but they went about it the wrong way. They went around pills. We have created a fast melt that's sublingual absorption directly into your body. You feel the onset, you feel the satiety effects, you feel the benefits within 5 minutes.
Like
and
how?
It lasts throughout the day.
Like how? How do you feel it?
Well, number one, how we mimic how the GLP-1 drugs work. Meaning, once you chew a Bella Melt and it sublingually goes into your body, into your bloodstream, it bypasses your digestive system and your liver. So that's number one. So you start feeling these effects almost immediately, and it works on a hormone in your brain called leptin, which tells your body that you're not hungry. So you eat less, and that you feel full faster, and that's the satiety effect. That's exactly how the drugs work, but the drugs have dangerous side effects and are much more costly. So that's how we work. Then we're working on burning fat in the body 24 hours a day, day and night. And then we work on shrinking the fat cells. That's the 3 mechanisms of action. That's how that works it starts working within 5 minutes. But the future for Belamelts around the world is unequaled. We have the ability to offer a daily weight loss, weight prevention, metabolic health product on a daily basis to people around the world. And that's exactly what we're doing starting 2 weeks ago.
And 2 weeks ago, wow. And the sales are going crazy and you're getting great results. It's working. Melissa lost 3 pounds in the first week and she was only taking 1 melt a day. She didn't know you could do 2 to 3 a day. She didn't know that. So she's just doing 1. So imagine what results she'd gotten if she's doing the 3 that most people are doing. They're having that 28-pound weight loss in a month, right?
Yeah, 20, the average in the month is per week is 5 to 7 pounds. The clinicals that we have, clinically proven, double-blind placebo study is 28.1 pounds in 10 weeks.
Wow.
And
in 10 weeks. In 10 weeks. That's still pretty fast, though, 10 weeks. Okay.
It's amazing. And the drugs don't even do that. The drugs show an average of 20 pounds in 12 weeks. We're 28.1 pounds in 10 weeks. And we're half the cost, and we reach the masses. The masses now can afford a product like this. The masses can lose the weight and then keep that weight off. Because as you know, with the drugs, people spend a lot of money on the drugs. They tolerate the side effects if they can. They lose the weight, but they lose lean muscle mass. They're not losing fat. So when they get off the drug, they put the weight on and it's fat. We solve the problem because we actually have ingredients that help you retain your lean muscle mass. We are actually solving every major weight loss issue out there around the world: costs, the ability to take an oral without having side effects, and the ability to give them protein, dietary fiber, and retain that lean muscle mass with the Belamelts.
Wow. Wow. You can get it, folks, at melissahousebg.com. I'll throw that disclaimer. This product's not been approved or tested by the FDA. It's not intended to treat, cure, prevent any disease. But you, I think, should do your due diligence and check it out at melissahousebg.com. The developer, Rick Anson. Rick, thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so happy to be part of Bella Grace, the Belamelts, and sharing this with people who need it for a lifelong lifestyle product. And that's what we're delivering.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rick. Folks, check it out right there. Let me go back to the website. There it is, Belamelt. All right. Of course, you know about the elixir that I take each and every day as well. It's all there, melissahousebg.com, melissahousebg.com. And again, it's a great way to support us with each purchase as well. So again, thank you for doing business there at melissahousebg.com, the elixir and the Belamelt. All right, guys, we need your support. Don't forget it. Don't forget, we need your support. Don't forget about us in your end of the year giving. It's coming up faster than you think. We need your support now. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you can also use our phone number. You can use our phone number and support us over the phone as well. Just leave a voicemail for Melissa or text her. She'll get back to you, help you make that contribution over the phone. Please consider setting up an automatic monthly contribution at worldviewfoundation.com. It's so important that more of you set up automatic contributions because you're so busy. We're all so very busy. And people are so busy that they forget to make that contribution, but we have to have your support. So make it easy on us and yourself. Just set up that automatic monthly contribution, would you please? Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Don't forget, you can get a stack of business cards absolutely free of charge at worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. Get your stack of business cards absolutely free. Pass them out to your family and friends and let them know about Worldview Tube. Pass them out to people you don't know, a waiter, a waitress, people you run into around your community. Pass them out to them and let them know about our Christian Worldview, Biblical Worldview Programming Network. Once you do that, worldviewstore.com. All right, roll the music. Let's call it a night. Hope you have a great weekend. And I want to thank all of you that do support us already. I never want to go too many days without saying thank you to all of you that are regular supporters. It means a great deal, and we really appreciate it. So thank you. And if you can't support us due to whatever your situation might be, don't you worry. That's why, in part, we keep pushing it out for free as a broadcast ministry and service. So thank you to for praying for us as well. So next time I'm Brannon Howse, may God save America. Take care.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house, very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brannon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to